Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. I'm Van Orn and this is another Dragonheir Science God video. I want to say it now, it might be controversial, but I prefer Aura to Rally. And in this video I'm going to try to explain you why and show you why for the past 2 seasons I've been pushing Aura before Rally, at least for my account. And in general I think it's a much easier to use School of Damage compared to the Rally one. And if you stick around for a little bit, I'm going to show you what I mean by that. But let me start showing you my Chief Challenge composition for this week. I've already saved all 3 of them for the week 1. And the first one over here is the one that I've built for the Rook. The damage that takes, the boss that takes more damage from Aura or Rally. In general, Radiant. And I've been building my Aura comps over here. Have 2 legendary. I pulled Yanta recently. I had Shala from the beginning of the season, and I've used Tiohane from the previous season, the epics. That is really one of the best DPS. But in the previous season, I had none of the legendary. I've used only epics, and even if in this season I had none of the legendary, I will probably prefer Aura over my Rally. Now, maybe I'm particularly not lucky with the pulls on my Rally, but nevertheless, I find them very difficult to use, to time, and to get the damage consistently from them. And so let me show you what I mean by this. Let me jump to the gallery, select the Radiant, and finally filter to the Rally. I only have Uberg, which is an amazing DPS. He hits like a truck. When he has Rally on, he basically hits so many times. It is incredible. It does a lot of damage, and I love it. It's my first legendary on this account. I've been using him over and over, and I really like it. He gives Rally to himself for 10 seconds when allies cast a spell that consumes Rally. He gives Rally to himself, so it's quite good to run with someone else that gives Rally to himself. But again, difficult to time, and the option I have is only the epics or the rare, given that Wellbe is a good DPS range. When he casts skills with Rally, when he casts his ultimates, he recharge 50% of his energy, I think. So he can go very often, and he gives Rally to himself as well. So he is a good champion, but also not ideal. And you always need an enabler, and the 2 only enabler available besides Laurentiel, which is an amazing one, or Tathlin and Alvis. Now Tathlin, basically every 6 basic attacks give Rally to a champions. You can build him with a lot of attack speed, and he will do this more often, but nevertheless he's not consistent. You're not gonna have always the Rally when you need it, unfortunately. He has a triple hit ultimate that also gives attacks up to Rally allies, which is good. You can use it for Witcher Remain, so you can push a little bit of damage out of him and the team, but it's also not too consistent. And the other enabler is Alvis. He brings also a good 24% ally battles attack. He's basically gonna give Rally, duplicates the Rally, and on his ultimate grants 50% attack up, crit rate bonus, and crit damage to one ally for 10 seconds. If the hero is on the Rally while casting, consumes Rally and grants the above buff to another ally on the Rally. Now the problem with this is if no one is on the Rally, he just does it randomly, and you never know what champions is gonna get it. I wish this one was prioritizing the highest attack, and so if you do this and you time it correctly, it will give basically this buff to your DPS instead of giving it just randomly. And sometimes this drives me completely nuts, and I can't make constant compositions out of these champions because again the randomness is way too much. Ejo is a good DPS, but he's a melee, so he puts himself sometimes in sticky situations, and with the Chaos Shadow bosses, even if sometimes you can hide it behind or place it in a way that it takes less damage, melee champions are always difficult to play. And he's the standout, he's the one that does more damage, he gives Rally to himself. So it is a good champion. He also gives Rally to others, if I don't remember wrong. So he's really good. but is the only one that I will recommend building, because Martina and Gitona are, in my opinion, just borderline unusable. I really don't understand these two champions. I really don't understand how on many tier lists that I've seen before, they were rated so high. They do decent damage, but damage is not just enough. They don't give rally to themselves. You always need to bring someone that enables them. And when you bring one of the two, Thatlane and Alvis, you basically have a slot just to enable the DPS. So if you have one DPS or two, basically that is your source of damage, because these champions over here will not bring much of a damage. And so we go back to the legendaries, and again, if you have Filto, Holberg, Thelendor, even Alton does good damage. It's good, but without Laurentiel, it's very difficult to see these teams running with high scores, and it basically goes down all in a funnel. And if you don't have Laurentiel, rally is always too difficult to run. While, to my point, Aura doesn't need much. There are, of course, sort of enabler, Dianta being the first one that comes to mind, but she basically boosts the damage on everyone. She's not really an enabler, and she also does damage. In my comp, she does probably less than a third of the damage, but she still does some good damage. She's the lesser of my DPS compared to Shala and Theohane, but she still does decent damage. And she's not being just seen as an enabler. She brings damage as well and boosting the damage of the others, while not needing particular attentions with anything. We don't have a buff over here that need to be given in a certain time, calculated with empiric systems between battle skills and ultimate to try to get it out at the right time. This is just working. You just build them for damage and they work. And even if you just use the 3 DPS from the epic category, they are all DPS and they enable each other. You have Narzilla, for example, will bring you 24% attack aura in all battles, and when you build her correctly for damage and you time your champions 2 seconds or more apart, because her ultimate or battle skills actually, as ultimate, when cast, basically trigger once every 2 seconds, and so she basically join in the attacks from the others. So if you get her to go first, and then 2 seconds after someone goes, she joins back again. And then she joins back again, and it will work also on the battle skills. So this is actually quite good, and she can push out really good damage. In the last season, I built her for the Witch's Remain, for example. I brought 3 DPS boosting each other. She was my Witch's Remain. She kept joining in with the attacks of the others, and the decreased defense was up most of the time. And if you pair this with the increased attack for this season, for example, you get constantly increased attack, decreased defense, and you can boost your damage quite well. Carrot is also really good. You need to place it correctly, otherwise she's not going to use the ultimate. So if you place it all the way on the side and the boss is in the center, she's not going to cast the ultimate. But when she does, she gives 20% attack up for 10 seconds to all the Aura allies. And so this one is straight up to everyone, and you can use it basically to go second, so you boost your main DPS, which can be Theohane, the pilot of the Mecha Torque. She has an ultimate that does really good damage. And when they go in Blaze state, they basically all boost their damage and even more. And so very easy to use, very simple. And even the legendary are decent. They are not incredible. If you have Laurentiel and you have Uber and Filto, your top score will be higher compared to Aura. And maybe you're gonna have to have Amon Leia to, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but if you have her, the exclusive, then the damage is still comparable. She doesn't need any crit rate, she's just a pure DPS. You can use it from early season and just push a lot of damage from her. The only one that really I will avoid is Linkus, which is probably just a waste of your time and energy. But the rest of the champions in here are all decent and all doing decent damage. More so, they found space in my Goblin. And let me show you my Goblin team right now. I've basically turned around and start building my team around Lightning and Radiant, and therefore, because I was building Aura, I had to use them, and then I wasn't sure if it brings maybe someone like Iola or Yola, whatever you want to say, but then I didn't have someone else to bring, and I could probably bring just Dianta over here, because her ultimate, which is this one, hits a big range, and her battle skills is a 3x3, so both of her skills are good damage, while Shala has a battle skills that hits on a 3x3 and an ultimate which is quite random, sometimes bounce, sometimes doesn't. When it doesn't, she gets 40% of her energy back, which is good. I'm using her also with the shadow artifact just to get the crit rate, but nevertheless, let me show you how it works. I'm using 45% attack aura from Farum down, Perkunte, Orfena, Dianta, and Shala. Pretty OP, all legendary comp, of course, but what I want to show you is the damage from the champions over here. And I hear a lot of people saying, oh, Aura is trash. I really don't think that. They are decent. Look, I mean, she 150,000. That was an AoE completely wasted on one champion, but she does good damage. Now this one did nothing, basically bounced around, but did not enough damage. Shala, it's not ideal over here. Probably even maybe thinking to replace her with someone else, maybe Yola at this point, but nevertheless, this comp goes pretty fast. Look at this, boom, all the wave is gone basically, and she did it with one hit. So it's a very good damage. I know Goblin is not the meta, it's not what we build up a champion for, but nevertheless, it's a suitable place, and if you build them for boss, you can use them over here as well and find good results. This is a 43 seconds on this run. I can get it down to 37 if I'm lucky for when the casts are spelled and when the enemy dies. But nevertheless, it's a very quick comp, and if you look at the damage, it's pretty equal. Obviously, Perkunte is doing a little bit more than the others, but as you can see, Shala, which is the one that I was saying, oh, maybe she does less damage. Look at that, 10 million. She did more damage than Dianta. She did the same damage on Orfena. So yeah, very good champions all around, easy to use, easy to plug in, they interact very well with each other. You don't need to have that key champions that makes the comps work, which is the main problem of Rally. And I don't know if this video really is testament more to Aura working decently or to Rally being too complicated to run unless you have the key champions, but nevertheless, don't despair if you have your Aura champion. Build them, you're gonna get good results, you can get good damage on your otherworld explorations, and you can find use for them somewhere else. This is everything for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as usual, please consider liking and subscribing. Roughly 60% of you watching this video are still not subscribed, so if you could spare the time to do it, will help the channel grow. And until next video, guys, have fun.